Hello and welcome. My name is Mike Rambuya, your average Joe card slinger, and today we're going to cover a different deck for the Digimon TCG, and one that I've actually got to play in a tournament, though I didn't do quite well with it. And after I played in the tournament, I went back to the drawing board and modified it a bit because I kind of joined late. So today we're gonna rock out with the new archetype, the Dark Dragon archetype. When I first played this deck, I sticked to very much the Dark Dragon, Evil Dragon archetype. So most of the stuff was from uh, BT20 and EX7 with a few things here and there. I have modified this to hopefully be a little bit more versatile and to help come up with some shortcomings that I had. So let's get into the goals of the deck. So one main thing about this Dark Dragon deck or HeavyMetaldramon deck is that you have to keep your hand at 4 or lower. A lot of the inheritables and trigger effects require you to have 4 or lower cards, which isn't too hard given that a lot of the cards also require you to play on top of Dark and Evil Dragons. And even the evil trait, but we'll talk about that later. So there's a lot of different ways to get the cards in your hand that you need to Digivolve, as well as lowering the cost as well, and Digivolution, um, especially with the new Impmon line. But other than utilizing some of the Dark Dragon traits, when Digivolving effects to trash cards at hand, there's other cards as well to also help you do that. But I also made sure I threw some cards in here that give you a benefit if you trash them from hand. So this is very much a trash your cards from your hand, so you have a little bit more control versus something like a Megidramon deck where you don't have much control because you're just trashing from the top of your deck. Alright, so let's get to the deck breakdown. First, let's talk about the Digi Eggs. So I'm running 5 in total. You're running 2 copies of Sunomon with an inheritable of when you trash a card in your hand using one of your effects, draw 1. I know that may seem kind of counterintuitive, given I want to get down to 4, but I'm trying to overcompensate for an issue I had in the tournament to where I would have no cards in hand. So this would at least allow me to replenish that effect to hopefully and still have cards to use then and not have to really rely on the top draw. And then we're also using 3 copies of the Yaman from EX7, who has an inheritable of when attacking, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait in the trash. So very much I want to put those specific cards into the trash so then I can attack and Digivolve. This is not at a lower Digivolution cost though, so it will still be at full price. So I may be turning my turn over to the opponent once the attack has gone through. Next we'll look at the rest of the deck, the main deck, starting with from BT19, Impmon, only 2 copies of that. It does not have the Liberator trait, so I won't be able to use any Liberator deals, but given that is a 4 cost, 4 cost level 3, I should still be able to, I still have other ways to get it onto the field. As an on-play, if I have 1 or fewer tamers, you may play 1 purple tamer with a play cost of 4 or less from your trash without paying the cost. So this is just be another way to get Yuki on the field, either EX7 or BT20 Yuki, as they both have effects that I really need on the field to kind of keep things going. And also, it does give the inheritable retaliation, which is going to be very good if I'm going to be swinging into things and I want to possibly take them down with me. Next, we have EX7 Impmon. It has a your turn. When this Digimon would Digivolve into a Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon, reduce the cost by 1. That's just a nice way to go into Punkmon at not such an expensive cost. Plus, since he has a 1 cost to Digivolve, if I go first and I have a Sunomon in my hatching area, I can play on top of him to set my opponent to 1. Excuse me, making their turn extremely short. Next, I have the BT20 Impmon. Has an on-play, reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 Evil Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait card, and 1 Yuki among them to my hand. The rest goes by my deck. This also has the inheritable of giving 2000 DP, same as the EX7 Impmon. So on my turn, my guys get pretty beefy. Next, we have the EX7 Punkmon. It does have a lower cost of Digivolving on top of an evil trait at the cost of 2. So only Itmons are evil, so I can get the Digivolve for 2 instead of 3. Plus, if I use the EX7 Itmon, that 2 goes down to 1. When Digivolving, if you have 1 or fewer Tamers, you may play 1 Yuki from your hand without paying the cost. It has an inheritable giving this Digimon 2000 DP on your turn. So there's 4000 DP if you stack up EX7 and BT20 Impmon. Plus, you could also give a retaliation. That way, even with the buff with the BT19 Impmon, so that way, even if you get buffed up, it's still not enough to take out your opponent without safely. You can still take them down that way. Next, we're going to also use BT20 Punkmon, which has an on-play when Digivolving effect, trash 1 card in your hand. Then, until the end of your opponent's turn, 1 of your Digimon gains blocker in retaliation. He also gives an inheritable effect of your turn. This Digimon gets plus 2000 DP. So again, just a way to kind of play a bit more defensively, and even if you use a blocker to take down what your opponent has, assuming they don't have any effects to protect it. Next, I originally got rid of this, but I ended up throwing it back in. I'm going to use EX7's Eismon Shatter Mode. It has an on-play effect of trash 1 card in your hand, then return 1 Digimon card with Evil Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon. It also has retaliation. This is definitely just to help put maybe certain cards into your trash. Maybe one that gets an effect for being in trash from your hand, but also maybe return 1 if you maybe need a level 4, level 5 in your hand to help bridge the gap between getting to HeavyMetaldramon. Next up is a level 5. We're using 3 copies of BT20 Loudmon. Has a Digivolve lower cost of Dark Dragon / Evil Dragon, which is only cost 3. Has an on-play / when Digivolving effect, trash 2 cards in your hand. Then for the turn, 1 of your Digimon gains Raid, which allows you to switch into a unsuspended Digimon, and Piercing, and gets 4000 DP. So add that to the 4000 DP you're already getting between Punkmon and Hitmons, and you have a pretty powerful Digimon to swing at. And with Piercing, even as long as you survive the fight against who you're attacking, you can still do a security check. It has an inheritable of while you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, all your Digimon with Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait gains security attack +1. So this is one of the first examples that we have of having the qualifier of only having a max of 4 cards in your hand to gain an effect. Next, we're using EX7 Loudmon, which has an on-play / Digivolving effect of trash 2 cards in your hand, then delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon with 7000 DP or less, and it has a same inheritable of while you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, all your Dark Dragon and Evil Dragon Digimon gain security attack +1. Alright, now onto our level 6s. We're using 3 copies of EX7 HeavyMetaldramon. It has a when Digivolving effect of trash 2 cards in your hand and delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. Given the boost you will get on your turn from Punkmon and Impmon, this easily bumps up to a 17,000 DP Digimon. Not to mention, if you somehow double it, or in the same turn decide to Digivolve it on top of Loudmon, the BT21, which gives this Digimon 4000 DP. Well, now it is at a scary 23,000 DP, since that effect does carry over, since it's technically the same Digimon. Also, at the end of your turn once per turn, you may play one card with Evil Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait and a play cost of 8 or less. This is why the Loudmons have an on-play effect, because since they are 7 cost, you can use them to play them out, and that way you can even have an easier way to jump to a level 6. However, you play them 8 or less from your trash without paying the cost. However, for each card in your hand, you remove one of this effect's play cost maximum. So, if you have 4, you only get to do a 4 cost, and you have 3, 5, it makes sense. So this is where you kind of want to have a low end if you especially want to play out level 5, but I think having 2 and being able to play out level 6 cost Digimon still is helpful. Next is Nihogmon. We're using 2 copies of that. Nihogmon mainly is just being used to as an option to trash from your hand, given that when this card is trashed in your hand using one of your effects, gain 1 memory. It's when Digivolve effect also isn't bad, where you can trash 1 card in your hand to delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So that way you can still lower the cost, but if it's in your hand, more likely you're going to throw it into the trash anyway, to gain 1 memory to either prolong or maybe finally get that last bit of, or recover a bit of memory that you just used to Digivolve into Loudmon or HeavyMetaldramon. And wrapping up the Digimon cards, of course, is BT20's HeavyMetaldramon Ace. It has a straight Blaster's Evolution, there's no special conditions. It has an on-play / when Digivolving, trash cards in your hand until there is 4 left. Then I can play 1 8000 DP or lower Digimon card from my trash without paying the cost. For each card this effect trashed, remove 2000 DP. So if I have 5 and I trash 1 to get down to 4, I can only now play a 6000 DP or lower Digimon. It also has the Alterns effect of all your Dark Dragon and Evil Dragon trait Digimon gain Rush and Blocker. So not only as you play out your Digimon, of course I have a lot of Dark Dragon and Evil Dragon Digimon, they get rushed, so I can use them right off the bat, and they have blocker, and also get 2000 DP, so it kind of buffs up my blockers, and it kind of gives me an ability to play a little bit more defensively. Going on to Tamers, using 4 copies of BT20 Yuki, and she is a memory setter, so at the start of your turn, you have 2 or less, you go to 3, and then at the end of your turn, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, I can spend this Tamer, and one of my Dark or Evil Dragon trait Digimon may attack a player. So this is good, so even if you want, and I did this a couple times when I played in a tournament, I would ramp up, I would make sure I get this Yuki on the field, and then I would use the other Yuki to maybe Digivolve from trash, which I'll show you her card here in a bit. But I could then ramp up to HeavyMetaldramon, trigger its the non-ace one, trigger its end of turn effect to play out a Digimon, and then trigger this Yuki's end of turn effect to then attack. It's still my turn, so all the buffs will still be there, so it gives me a last chance ever to swing at a very high DP level, and then go to my turn. I also use 3 copies of the EX7 Yuki, which has the kind of new standard, it seems to be, of starting your main phase. If your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1 memory. And then as main phase, if I have 4 or fewer cards in my hand, I can spend this chamber, and one of my Digimon, doesn't have to be a Dark Dragon Evil or Evil Dragon trait, it just says one of my Digimon may Digivolve into a Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait in the trash. And of course, this is at cost, so I would still have to pay the cost. So I spend it, Digivolve into Loudmon, and then let's say I attack and I decide to use Yamon's effect of, hey, when I attack, as long as I have 4 or less, I can Digivolve into a Evil Dragon or Dark Dragon. Again, still at cost, so it'll probably pass the turn, but this does allow me to activate the Digivolution effects, try to get rid of some Digimon or play out a Digimon to help kind of stack my board, and still take a swing at security and try to give myself an edge in the security race. So now we're going to options, and I decided to add Underworld's Call from BT6. This does have a when you trash this card from your hand using one of your effects, trigger, draw 1. I know the goal is to keep between 4 or lower, but if, let's say this is the last card in my hand and I put it into the trash, I can draw 1 to hopefully get a card I need to help keep the game going on my end. But it also has the main effect of you may play 1 purple level 4 or lower Digimon card from your trash without paying the cost. So that I can get Impmon, BT19 Impmon out to maybe play a Yuki. I can maybe play a Punkmon to get a defense and retaliator, so even though if I have to block, I can still take him out. Play out a Eismon to get a card back into my hand that I may need to help complete the game. So that's kind of the point with these Underworld's Call. Next is Black Sabbath. So Black Sabbath is very interesting because it's a cheap 2-cost option that allows you to trash a card in your hand and delete a level 4, one of your opponent's level 4. But this is definitely a card that more benefits, in my opinion, being in your trash. Now, it does have a trash effect of if you have 4 or fewer cards in hand by paying 6 memory. Now, this is a very expensive card, but I can return this card to the bottom of my deck and delete one of my opponent's unsuspended Digimon. So, as of right now, I think there are a lot of effects that help restand people's Digimon, especially with Reboot, but also if they pass the turn and a Digimon wasn't able to become suspended, then this gives you an option to, yes, it's expensive, but able to put it into the bottom of your deck and get rid of one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon, especially if it's an Ace Digimon. That definitely can lower the cost of it. So as much of it's probably smarter in a game to use the 2 memory value of it, putting it into your trash and then using it as a kind of emergency level 6 remover if you need be, level 7 remover, not necessarily hurt. Plus, if it's in your security, it allows you to delete a level 6 or lower Digimon. So definitely a card that you want either in your trash or in your security, maybe not so much in your hand. Next up is Wisdom Training. Now, I was using Purple Scramble, which was nice, but there was a part when I felt my deck did not have as much searching that I needed, and then so I wasn't always getting the cards that I really needed in my hand to continue on. Plus, given both Yamon's effect and EX7 Yuki's effect of I can Digivolve from the trash but not at a lower cost, I feel like Wisdom Training was a better option to, even though it only reduces the cost by 2, it still allowed me to search for it and on my next turn use that card and then still be able to use Yuki's or Yamon's effect and maybe not give my opponent so much memory on their turn. And to wrap this up, I did put in 2 copies of Digimon Liberator, which if you have a Digimon or Taman with Liberator, you don't have to worry about the colors, which I have the EX7 PT20 uh, evil Dark Dragon, Evil Dragon traits. So most of those cards have Liberator, so this should be very easy to play out. Uh, on the main phase, I can reveal the top 3 cards of my deck, add 1 card with the Liberator trait among them, return the rest to the bottom, then I may play 1 card with Liberator trait and play costs 3 or less from my hand without paying the cost. So I could play out the EX7 Yugi, I could play out BT20 and EX7 Impmon. If I need be, want to maybe go search for a Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon, or EX7 Impmon, which allow me to reduce the cost by 1. So if I don't have like level 3s in my hand, put a level 3 Digivolve into Punkmon, maybe trash some cards, so then I can get a blocker with Retaliation to play more defensively on my opponent's turn. And that is the Dark Dragon deck that I built. I was super happy with the deck, even with playing straight Archetype, it's still fun. I modified it a bit, and I'm still going to be modifying this as much. Part of me wants to try to see if I can get Groundmon into it, because Groundmons are taking evil dragons, but they're more focused on trashing cards from the deck, and I'd rather have kind of control when I do that. But either way, it's still a fun deck, and I did enjoy my time. But that will be the end of today's video. I want to thank you very much for listening to me blab about a brand new Dragon Archetype deck that I'm excited for. Let me know if there's any decks from BT20 that you've been excited to play for, and what decks you are looking for in BT21, as that should be coming out here in the next couple weeks at time of recording. But without further ado, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully you have a wonderful day, stay safe, may your pulls be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.